AITA for wanting my daughter to pay back her sister after she broke her violin? I have 3 kids, this is about my 2 daughters, who I'll call Mia and Jamie, fake names. For some background knowledge, my Sil passed away 4 years ago due to cancer. Mia and Sil had a very close relationship. Sil played violin and Mia was interested in playing because of Sil. She was given Sil violin before she passed away. It's something Mia cherishes greatly. Jamie has been having some setbacks in her behavior and mental health for the past 2.5 years. She's in therapy, and we've had talks. She's been improving, although it's slow. She's been acting out a lot, arguing, yelling. Mia and Jamie aren't close, but they usually don't argue. Now for the issue at hand. Mia and Jamie were arguing about something that changed into multiple different topics. Mia made constant jabs at Jamie about stuff she was dealing with. In return, Jamie broke the violin. My husband and I were not home when it happened. Jamie admitted to breaking the violin because of what Mia said. Mia is obviously distraught. She's even more upset with Jamie now. I'm not defending either daughters, they both said and did stuff they weren't supposed to. And I do believe both daughters should be punished. For Jamie's punishment, my husband and I cannot agree if Jamie should repay Mia for the violin. I believe she should, though a new violin won't make up for the emotional aspect of Sil's violin. Jamie doesn't want to pay Mia back. However, my husband doesn't think she should because of what Mia said. Saying that Jamie is still in therapy, so we shouldn't punish her for what she does, just take her to therapy and talk it out. He thinks I'm the because Mia started it, and because Jamie doesn't want to lose her money. AITA. Comment. She should pay for the new violin and both sisters should have some therapy together to talk it out. They can at least try bringing it to the luthier. Web link will tell them if it is or not. But unless the girl stomped on it and broke it in slivers, it can be repaired. As I said, my friend had a number of them, including with missing parts, repaired and is ecstatic with how they sound. Honestly, with an instrument like that, one poorly placed crack could drastically alter the sound and not be repaired. But unless it was entirely smashed to pieces, they should be able to keep some original pieces and replace the damaged ones, but it would possibly be more expensive than buying a new one. I had a luthier repair my guitar after I put my foot through the back of it. I was so mad at myself. You can't even tell where my foot went through. Finding a decent luthier can be hard, and it's expensive, but it's worth it for an instrument that's special. I watched a kid trip, fall, and snap the entire neck off a cello. It was very dramatic, but the instrument was back in good working order in less than a month. It really depends on what happened to it. Some things look small and are impossible to repair well. Other things look like total destruction and take very little to fix. Right, but broken could also just be a broken tuning peg that prevents it from being played, but wouldn't be as expensive to repair. I assume Op wouldn't jump right to brand new violin if that was the case, but it would be nice to have some clarification. Maybe Op wants her pay for a whole new violin to teach her a lesson, when it could be repaired for less money. Difficult because I can see your husband's point about Mia's provocation, however he's completely wrong about there should be no consequences for Jamie. She needs to understand that violence and destroying other people's things is absolutely never acceptable. If she gets away with this, she'll learn that she can use her issues to get away with things, and you'll be setting yourselves up for a world of trouble. I think the answer is you have to clearly punish both girls. Jamie should absolutely have to pay Mia back for the violin, however, Mia must also receive a punishment fitting her actions, and Jamie has to see her being punished also. Both girls should be required to apologize to one another too. If you're still unsure, perhaps you can discuss it with her therapist first and take her suggestion on board. Next story 2. AITA for not looking after my infant niece while my sister had to run errands. I am currently living with my sister and my niece, who is 5 months old. My sister asked me to move in with her as she was separating from her partner and needed someone to help with the bills. I cover the majority of rent payments for the house and bills since my sister is not fully back to work yet. On the days she is working, it is usually our mother who looks after my niece. Now I mainly work from home, and due to how loud both my niece and my sister are and the job specifics, I wear good noise cancelling headphones. I also have a room with my own bathroom. I have told my sister multiple times if she needs anything and I haven't responded to a knock, she needs to come into my room and tap me to get my attention, otherwise I would simply won't hear her and wouldn't know if she needs anything. However, my sister keeps forgetting it. Last Friday was very hectic at my work, so I ended up working 12 hours and had some snacks to get me going. I had no knowledge of my sister asking anything of me since I sit opposite the door. I also haven't seen her coming into my room since she didn't tap me on my shoulder as we agreed. Apparently she had to run a few errands at work and had noon to leave my niece with, and decided to leave her with me since she would be a few hours. Because I had no idea of her plans and she hasn't followed what I have asked her to do, my niece was left unattended for over 3 hours and was crying her eyes out for God knows how long. I only found out about it when my sister returned home. I was still working and had my headphones on, as she ripped the headphones off my head and started shouting at me and calling me an asshole for not attending to my niece. Even I have explained to her I had no idea she was gone or my niece was crying. To add, I don't look at my phone during work hours, and after I have checked there was no messages or missed calls from my sister. I feel really bad about the entire situation, so wanted to check if I am an asshole, as my sister still wouldn't talk to me and makes it sound like I did it on purpose. Comment: you always verbally confirm with somebody if you are leaving your child with them. You don't just holler that you're leaving. You don't assume they heard you. You get a verbal response. This was her screw up, not yours. You did absolutely nothing wrong and you are anti-A. Yup. This is no different than someone who drops the kids off on the front porch and drives off without even ringing the bell to make sure you're actually home. Completely negligent. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she did it on purpose. She knew Op didn't really hear her but left anyway cause she figured it would probably be fine. Op would probably hear the baby if she cried or something, and better to ask forgiveness than permission. You are working. You are covering the majority of the bills currently. You have a procedure in place that is supposed to be followed when your sister wants you to take care of your niece. You have explained this procedure to your sister multiple times. Your sister didn't follow this procedure. Absolutely anti-A. You need to move out. You moved in to help your sister out. From your post you are paying most of the rent. At this point you are financially supporting yourself, your sister, and your niece. So being able to focus on your job is extremely important. If you can't pay the bills, then who will, as it doesn't sound like your sister is able to support herself 100% right now. Instead of feeling guilt for your sister's error, move out. Your sister doesn't appreciate your help. She feels entitled to it. You really need to move and take care of yourself. I'm not sure what's up with moms not being able to take their kids on errands. I had twins and no family around. They both went on errands with me. Your sister needs to get a job and daycare. At 5 months she should be working and paying her own way. Next story 3. AITA for turning my brother-in-law's office back into my library behind his back. When my in-laws retired, they essentially gifted my husband their home as they moved outside of the city. I took over what used to be their library as my own after we got married. I lived away from my husband for over a year, and in that time my brother-in-law moved in. Living apart put a lot of strain on our marriage, and for the last 5 months or so divorce was on the table, so my brother-in-law decided it was okay for him to change my library into an office for himself. There were other rooms he could have chosen, so I think he chose the library to be spiteful. Since moving back I've said multiple times I want my library back, and if he wants an office he needs to pick a different room. My brother-in-law refused because he thinks my library is less important than his office. My husband only told him once to move, but he used the excuse he had too much work to have to move his office on top of that, so my husband told me to just use a different room for my library for now, which I don't think is fair to me, and I know if I had done that he would have never given me the room back. So, my brother-in-law went on holiday for 2 weeks and I decided it was the perfect time to move his stuff out and reclaim my library. It hasn't gone over well with my brother-in-law, even though I did the minimum for him to have a functional office space still, which I didn't need to do after how he's been behaving. He keeps trying to drag my husband and in-laws into it because he thinks he has more right to the room than me. AITA. Comment. You're NTA. It was your room and your brother-in-law took it without asking. I'll tell you who is the though, your husband. He should have stopped his brother from moving into your room. And he should be the one dealing with his brother right now because it's his brother. You should deal with any problems involving your relatives and your husband should manage problems involving his. The reason for this is that your brother-in-law will care more about damaging his relationship with your husband than he will care about offending you. Also, your husband knows his brother best. The way to get the problem solved is for your husband to be the one dealing with it. Your husband should want to solve this problem so you're not unhappy. If there were other available rooms, this should never have been alright from the husband or the BIL. It sounds spiteful on the BIL's part and indifferent/weak-willed on the husband's, if not also spiteful. I think normally I'd say NTA, but I don't think your in-laws ever actually transferred ownership of the house to your husband. Mostly based on your word choice. Did your BIL live in this house before with his parents? If your husband isn't the legal homeowner, then definitely YTA. Let us know who owns the house. YTA. You moved out and he moved in. You assume just because there were other rooms he could have chosen that he was being spiteful, but you nothing to back that up. Instead, it sounds perfectly rational that whatever attributes made the room a good library also made it a good office. Where you really became the was in your childish response of waiting until your BIL was traveling, then evicted him from the room.